Any other question? Way in the back, and then there.
What's the difference between judging and correcting?
When you judge someone, there's an emotion that comes with it. You either feel good about them or feel badly about them. That's judgment. When you're just correcting them with perfect love, there is no feeling to it at all. Real love doesn't have a feeling. People who say, I'm in love, or I fell in love, what they're really saying is that they fell into darkness. Because that's why love don't last. You know how you fall in love and then time goes by and now you don't love this person? And you want to break up, you want to separate, because you never loved them, you hated them. But real love, there is no feeling to it at all. No thoughts, no feeling, nothing. You just live it. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Mine was more sensational.
It's more what?
My question is more sensational.
Oh, okay.
Were you surprised by the responses you got about your question about how people feel about black people?
I'm going to get to that.
Okay, I was wondering, so I was jumping ahead.
I wasn't surprised at what they said, but I was surprised that they responded. A lot of people are afraid to respond, especially non-black folks. And what did you think about that?
I was happy that you gave them a platform to feel safe to do so. That was nice. A lot of people wouldn't be that objective and that open. So it was okay. It was good. And sometimes it's good to hear what other people think.
Right.
You know, whether it's true or not. It's just it can be constructive criticism.
Did you guys hear the response to that question on the radio show? How do you see black people? It was amazing, but not surprising though. A lot of people see them that way, but they just won't say it because they're afraid to say it. How do you see black people?
The way you asked it, it makes it sound like they're other, like I'm not black, but
amazing.
I would say on a grand scale that we do kind of have like a veil over our eyes, and even though we feel like we're the most discriminated against people, I think we're actually some of the most protected. And I think that if we were able to kind of just calm down a little bit, we could actually see that. And I don't think any of us want to go back to Africa. I could say that too. Like,
I've never been
I don't
there.
want to go. I like it here. I'm American. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's so much to say. I can't really put it into a single thought, to be honest with you.
So if you, were having coffee at a private place, and I would ask, how do you see black people? So pretend like no one is around but us. Here's some seats. Mary, those your friends that just came in? Yeah. Can they sit next to you? Do they mind? Do you like Mary enough to come sit next to her? We want to fill in the front so that when the people come in the back, it's easy. Go ahead. What would you say if we were talking in private?
I would say that a lot of us are unjustly angry, particularly anybody that's maybe like under 50. Because as a younger black person, I haven't experienced any outright discrimination or anything.
Right.
So I don't have anything to be angry about.
So you see them as angry?
I do see them as angry, but it's more like just kind of like when a kid is angry. Like they don't really know why they're angry.
Right.
They're just kind of mad because everybody else is. And I don't know, like I feel like when I hear younger people talk about like slavery and stuff like that, I personally haven't linked my heritage back to any slaves. I'm sure there could be some, but until I do that, I'm not claiming slavery as my own.
Right.
It's not mine.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you would describe it. It's just there's a lot of groupthink that goes on and no actual real. It's like thinking without thought. Like they're not actually using logic or anything or common sense, critical thinking. There's none of that.
And even if I found out that my folks were enslaved at some point, it still would not affect me today. It's so over with, It doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't know if they were in the big house or in the fields.
And that's my point too, because I think with a lot of us,
They could have been in the big house.
that's true though. And maybe they were in the big house because you probably wouldn't be here if they were in the fields. They probably would have gotten killed. So if you think about it that way though, I think you can kind of let it go, because personally, slavery is not my story. So I'm not,
Right.
like I said again, I'm not going to own it. My story started in the 80s when I was born. It didn't start, some other time. So
That's amazing you were born in the 80s.
it sounds so long
young
ago,
to me.
doesn't it?
It sounds so young. I'm not going to tell you what year I was born.
I mean,
They didn't make TV yet. We used to have to prepare the big White House for the white people that owned the plantation I lived on, and they lived somewhere else. But they would come once a year to go hunting and things like that. And there was this big White House that sat on the hill. And so when they sent a message that they were coming, we would have to go up there and get it ready, cut the grass. The women would go and clean it, do whatever they do. So I know about the big house. I worked in the big house and in the fields.
and I think that a person like you that actually experienced it, if you can come out of it, I don't know if you're unscathed or not. I don't know your innermost thoughts, but if a person like you can see beyond that and just live in the moment, I feel like it's really sad that, again, people my age and younger are associating with something that they, one, didn't experience, and two, something that a person that experienced the, what would you call it, like the leftovers, the outcome of slavery and things like that, you kind of experienced the tail end of all that stuff, and you still came out of it like a relatively normal person, I think.
But the point is, there was nothing to come out of. When we were growing up, it wasn't all this discussion about slavery. And it wasn't, blacks were not blaming anyone for anything. We just lived, we worked, we went to school, we, did our thing with the church. And this idea of racism and slavery and all that, black people were not making excuses back then. It sounds weird. That's why it's so silly to hear it now, because when I was growing up, it wasn't like that. There were good white folks and good black folks and bad white folks and bad black people. And so this whole discussion is just insane. It's insanity. It's not
How
even
does it
real.
make you feel when you hear young people automatically go to the slavery thing, or like
I
white
know that they've
supremacy,
been
whatever that
brainwashed.
is? Yeah.
They truly been brainwashed by their parents, the educational system, and some of the churches. They just brainwashed. They have no idea what they're talking about at all. Zero idea. And especially when they blame that on their own life not having a good life. Mm-hmm. It's their parents' fault that they're not having it.
Right.
Nothing to do with slavery.
Very true.
Yeah. Yes, Joel.
What you were saying about the black people and
We know how Joel feels about black people. Joel doesn't even know that he's black. He's like, I didn't know I was black until I started working at the radio show.
No, I totally agree.
Joel even said he wouldn't date a black woman on the radio.
I didn't say I would. I said I haven't seen any that are interesting.
So it's better off saying I wouldn't.
I don't mean it like that.
Of all, you've been on the earth 27 years.
Let me stop there, because
and you haven't seen one black woman that's worth it, that are interesting.
I don't mean it like that. I do like black women.
Yeah, you're digging a hole for yourself. But go ahead.
No, I just with the question you asked about black people on the radio show, I just feel like black people aren't disciplined in right and wrong, because when they're so on the defensive when people correct them, to where people are afraid to correct them. But I feel like some of the fault is also on the people who don't want to correct them because they're afraid of the reactions. But the black people they're defensive so much that nobody wants to correct them, but it's their fault too. But at the same time, on the other spectrum, people need to not worry about what the results are going to be of it.
Right.
Because constantly nobody wants to correct them because it's like, oh, they're gonna go off.
They're gonna get mad.
They're
and
gonna get
shoot
mad. They might swing.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't be afraid of that.
Yeah. Amazing. How do you see black people? This your first time here? I bet you had no idea it would be your first question. I'm going to church today. Nobody's going to ask me how I see black people. How do you see black? Are you Hispanic?
No, I'm Mexican.
Oh, you're Mexican. Okay. How do you see? What's the difference between Mexican and Hispanic?
I really don't know. I never identified with being
That's
Hispanic,
another
though.
made-up word. Yeah. That's why. But how do you see black people?
Very negative and blaming a lot of people for their problems. That's really about it.
Amazing. Let me ask a white person. How do you see black people?
I definitely agree with what Joel was saying. I mean, I've seen that in my life. I think that yeah, I think there's a lot of this this victim card being played, you know, like I'm just this victim of everything. And because you have this, you know, if you're going to have this victim mentality, then everyone's out to get you. So
Yeah.
I mean,
So does it turn you off when you hear, like, black people, go sit down?
what do you mean?
Does it turn you off from black people when you hear them complaining and whining?
Well, anyone who's complaining and whining is
How about black people?
turn off. Yeah.
How about black people?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's okay, I'm black, you can say it. You won't get thrown out.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Amazing. How about, and then I come there, how about you? How do you see black people? Anybody ever asked you that before?
No.
Not even at home when no one is around?
No, I mean, my family's biracial. I have a niece and a nephew that come from a black father.
So you really know what they're like.
I mean, I don't witness it much, the victim card, but it's also not only playing a victim card, but also if not the victim, and then entitlement.
Yeah.
It's everything.
Yeah. Joel and I had a discussion about transgenders. Is that right? Drag queen people. Remember how we can't tell if a woman is a woman now or a man?
Yeah.
What they call? Transgender, right?
Transgender.
And so I saw this person that was dressed like a female, but I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. So I ran back to the studio and I told Joel, I saw this person at the gym and I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman, and someone introduced the person to me and I couldn't tell it was but they said it's a woman, right? And we thought how sad that is, huh? And
Right.
what we think about it?
That in society, if the woman looks a little bit more, has a tougher look or stronger features,
Right.
you question if they're a transgender or not.
Right.
But
And
that's
before all this transgender stuff came about, you never questioned that. You don't wonder, is this a woman or a man, right? But now you do because so many people are doing it. Isn't that a sad way to live? And so, whatever that was for. Yes, ma'am. How do you see black people?
Well, I see them as people that like to segregate themselves and kind of just alienate from everybody. I know I've seen that a lot when I went to undergrad to a school that was 95% Caucasian, 5% other. I saw it there a lot. I've seen it at work.
Yeah.
I've seen how they just never really want to have any type of friendship relationship. They're always gathering within groups amongst themselves.
Right.
And they're almost afraid. I feel like I see them as very afraid of everybody else. And they're only comfortable within their own group and, their own people or people that are similar to them. Like I've only seen them associate with Hispanics or, Latinos,
Right.
and that's about it. Everybody else, it's kind of like outside of the spectrum. I know for myself when I went to undergrad and, they saw me coming and they're like, well, come join us, like you could be part of our organization. And I was like, I don't want to be part of any organization. I just want to, because I saw that happening a lot of like groups and cliques. And I was like, I don't want to be part of a group or clique. I want to be friends with everybody. And since then, they actually like never spoke to me again, which was a funny thing that they outcast me because I didn't want to join their organization and their group, and I didn't want to identify myself with the 5%. I just wanted to be not part of any percentile.
When the way I see black people now, when I was in a fallen state, I saw them as mean and, they couldn't communicate. They get angry really fast and you couldn't tell them the truth. And it's weird that I saw it that way. The reason I saw it that way because when I was growing up, black people were different. They didn't have all that anger. And they got along with people and they agreed and disagreed. And it really didn't matter what color you were, right? And when I was growing up, I never saw black people fighting at school and all that kind of stuff. I had one fight at school. It was we were on the playground. It was my turn to bat. And some black guy thought it was his turn, so we fought over the bat. And then the principal whooped us for fighting. I never had another, right? Before I could get home, my grandmother knew about it, and I don't know yet how did she find out, because we had no telephone. But it made it home before I did. And so what happened was I went up to Indiana when I was going to the 11th grade, and I went to Edison High School. It was predominantly a black school with Mexicans and Hispanic, but mostly black. And they elected the first black mayor of Gary, Indiana. And that very same next day, all hell broke out. Blacks were fighting in the hallway. They would walk up to white people, just stand in front of them and dare them to move. I mean, get out of my way, that kind of stuff. And it was just amazing to see that kind of anger coming out of people. And also when I went up to Indiana, they had gang members and stuff like that. And I had never seen that growing up. And so it made me not comfortable around black people because I didn't grow up that way. So it made me realize that it's how you're raised. It's really not about the color at all. It's really about how your father and mother raised you, the example that they are for you. And so now I see most black people as being in a fallen state, like whites and Hispanics and others. They're just angry and they can't see. And because they have been catered to for so long, rather than repudiate it, generation of it have just gone down from each generation. And if you don't deal with evil in a timely way, it will destroy you. It will destroy you, your kids, the cat, the dog, the paint on the house, and everything. And so black people have not been corrected. And that's why when you correct them now, they react to it in such a hard way because they are not accustomed to people telling them that they're wrong. And it's not about racism. It's not about what color you are. It's really about character. Martin Luther King Jr. talked about it. He said it's about the character of the person, not the color. And blacks have lost their way. So, but now I see that they just can't see. And I've noticed that the blacks who admit that they're wrong, they wake up and they can see their whole personality and everything changes. So that's why we got to tell them the truth about themselves. We have to be honest with one another, really, especially if we are men and women of God. And if they don't like it, it's like with family members, let them yell and scream. Don't change the truth just because they don't like it. And that's what love is. And that's what that's how he operates with us. He tried to warn us with the truth, but if we don't like it, we don't accept it, he's like, okay, no problem. Go fall in the ditch and die. He's not going to force you to change. He's not going to force you to love him, but he tried to warn you along the way. Likewise, we have to do this with black people and women and the radical homosexuals and everybody. We got to tell them the truth because they literally cannot see. If they could see, they would do differently, but they cannot see. That makes sense? So that's how I see black people. They're victims because they have had parents who have failed them, and not because of slavery or racism or any of that kind of stuff. Not one iota.